I don't think El Paso, I don't think Brownsville, Texas, I don't think any of those other cities should have to bear the weight of the failure in Washington, D.C. And so it was wrong for the mayor of El Paso to do it. No one should use human beings as political pawns.
I got to hear that soundbite again. It sounds like he's saying two different things. He's saying El Paso shouldn't have to bear the burden of Washington's inaction. And then he's saying that it was wrong and that they're using people as political pawns. Okay, let me welcome our next guest, Basil Smikle Jr., who lives in New York City. You're a Democratic strategist. You've worked with Hillary Clinton's campaign. You've taught at Columbia. You've done a lot of things. But can you make sense of that soundbite we just played?
Well, I think the mayor is consistent in this regard. He's basically saying that cities do not have the resources, the capacity to manage this humanitarian crisis, and that the federal government should do more and step in. He has consistently said that. He's actually even begged, and I use that term specifically, the governor of the state of New York and President Biden and his administration, of the same party, by the way, to do more. So he's right in that regard. But I think the difference between what he's saying about what we're doing in New York versus Texas is that we're at least working with the migrants to provide a broader range of services rather than exacerbate the humanitarian crisis by shipping them off in the middle of the night, which Governor Abbott has been known to do.
Yeah, but a lot of NGOs have shipped people all over the country for years. This is not an early practice. This is not something that was brand new with Governor Abbott. And you'd think, because it sounded like at the beginning of that soundbite, he was saying something similar to what you'd hear Governor Abbott say. It is not fair to these cities who are overrun with people who they don't have the resources to provide for. He's saying that about New York City. So why can't he and Governor Abbott play nice?
Well, there are 1,000 reasons why they probably are not going to play nice. Political partisanship is chief among them. But I will say that the mayor has consistently said, as has the governor, that this is a federal issue. When you think about the long wait times that many of these migrants have before they can actually even see somebody in immigration to hear their case. This is a resources problem at both the federal and local level. So now you're hearing how the mayor is trying to move some of these individuals to our northern suburbs, and that's got a lot of people very, very upset. The hope is that he would have worked with a lot of these leaders across the state prior to making that decision. But it is creating a huge political problem even within the state because of his interest in making those moves. So
should they be
it's an intractable problem.
Should they be forced to receive those immigrants, though? I mean, clearly they are hot. Rockland County, Orange County, saying if you bring immigrants here and hotels or businesses host them, we're going to fine these businesses and we're declaring a state of emergency. Should they have a say-so?
They should. And by declaring a state of emergency, what are they doing? They're asking the governor for more money. The same thing New York City is doing. So, yeah, as I was saying, it's an intractable problem that no one seems to be able to solve. In the meantime, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who are, as I've said and you said, being shipped all over the country in this sort of very cruel hot potato because nobody wants to be able to sort of actually solve this issue. But the political problems even within the state are going to be significant because the governor barely won her election as she ran against a Republican from the suburbs in Long Island. And on this issue about sort of the strength of the suburbs, which even the president's dealing with nationally, this is a political problem that they're going to have to figure out how to solve, not just for the sake of the migrants, but also for their own sort of political wins or
it's a platform issue.
Down the road.
This is a major platform issue, and whether you're Democrat or Republican, you're paying much more attention to it. I remember not too long ago, people telling me, oh, no, that's not our issue. That's not our issue. Guess what? Guess what? It's a new day in America. It's all of our issue.
If it falls into your lap, it's your issue.
Yeah, exactly. And it's falling into New York's lap for sure. Basil, it was lovely to have you on. Hope you come back. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.